state-of-the-art.
The Maersk Interceptor was brought here 2 months ago from a shipyard in Singapore, where it was built at a cost of $650 million. Now that the final outfitting has been completed, this European crew is charged with getting it up and running in the North Sea.
This rig is 37,000 tons of the most advanced technology in this industry. It's designed to operate in the most harsh environments you can imagine.
From Stavanger, the Interceptor will travel 180 kilometers west of Norway to drill in the Ivar Aasen oil field, one of the largest and most promising in Europe. But with no engine to propel her, the Interceptor has to be towed by 2 powerful tugboats. For the last 2 weeks, bad weather has delayed the tow-out. But a lull in the storm provides the towmaster with an opportunity to set sail.
If we are going tomorrow morning, as I hope so, then we can easily be there.
Anders Bone Hansen will command the rig until it is jacked up out at sea.
And do we have these conditions that allow us to arrive, meaning putting our feet into the seabed?
He needs 1.5 days of good weather for the tow, and another 1.5 to jack the rig up at the drill site.
That's the critical point. That's engaging our feet in the seabed.
Once in position, the Interceptor's legs will be lowered through the platform and planted onto the seabed. The platform will then climb up the legs 25 meters above the sea, providing a stable workstation for drilling operations. Once set, the rig will be able to drill more than 3 kilometers into the sea floor. But right now, the Interceptor's 3 giant legs are embedded in the mud at Stavanger Harbour.
All leg teams, jacking control. We will proceed jacking on each leg.
The first challenge is to lower the platform so it floats on the water. Then they can raise the legs out of the mud so that the rig can be towed out to sea. But that's easier said than done. As the platform moves down the legs and starts to float on the waterline, it becomes apparent that the forward leg won't lift off the harbour floor.
Forward leg penetrates almost 8 meters down into the seabed.
It's stuck like a Wellington boot in the mud.
We might have some challenges to get it loose.
At the moment, the rig's hull is sitting with a draft 8 meters below the waterline. But to free the leg, they'll have to pull the platform even further into the water. So much so that the rig will be said to be overdraft. Using the legs, they'll crank the platform 1 meter deeper into the water than its natural floating point. The hope is that the hull's buoyancy will take hold and pull upwards on the stuck leg until it pops out of the mud. It's like pushing a ball underwater, then letting it go. Tor Andersberger is one of the Interceptor's marine section leaders.
Okay, standing by. So once the rig is free of the seabed and floating, we'll be floating and start to get free of the seabed.
Yeah, forward leg. Forward leg. Starboard leg. Give us an update on this.
Hopefully we will soon see a reaction. Then we will slowly keep more buoyancy. We are confident now. We are moving, and this is good progress. really good progress.
After 4 hours of jacking the rig down,
Jacking control, what is your status?
All legs stopped.
It seems like we have freed the leg. We are just on time, so that's really good news.
the Interceptor is now ready to be towed out to the oil field. As day breaks, Marine pilot Per Herman Sira guides the rig through the harbour and out to sea from the Interceptor's forward deck. The rig itself has no engines, so Per relies on 2 powerful tugs.
Our engine room is 2 tugs, 2 big tugs, and we are giving them orders of which heading they are steering and also how much power to use.
The plan is to get the Interceptor drilling in 10 days' time. Every day the rig is late costs the company $375,000.
Finally, we're on the way, so the rig can go into operation and drill some wells in the Oversten field.
It takes 16 hours to free the legs and get the rig underway. Tomorrow, the Interceptor's crew will enter the riskiest phase of the operation, setting the rig down on the sea floor. And a storm is on the way. Maersk Interceptor, the largest jack-up drilling rig in the world, is being towed out for its first ever job. Travelling from Stavanger to the Ivar Aasen oil field 180 kilometres west of Norway, this giant drilling rig is expected to pump $375,000 of oil a day. But first, the crew need to tow it to the oil field and set it up for the drilling. The 2 ocean-going tugs are pulling the rig along at a speed of 4 knots. That's 7 kilometers per hour. But as the first day of transit draws to a close, the sea conditions worsen and the waves build to 3 meters high. By nightfall, the rig's boss, Kim Scanning, closes the starboard deck for safety reasons.
As you can see, the weather is a little bit rough at the moment. We don't like this when we have the green seas on deck.
The Interceptor's 207-meter-high legs sway in the gusts and swells. If conditions worsen, they could bend. So, to prevent damage, the company has established weather limits for the transit.
It's important that we will not stress the rig. That's the reason why we have the limits.
If the combination of waves and swells exceeds 4 meters, or the winds hit 35 knots, Kim Scanning will have no choice but to turn around.
The plan B, or the contingency plan, if the weather is not as we wanted to, is to go back to Stavanger. We will not expose ourselves.
Through the night, and into the next day, the conditions stay just on the safe side of the limit. After 31 hours of towing, the Interceptor approaches the drill site. Preparing preparing for arrival, the legs are lowered down 100 meters below the platform, creating drag in the surrounding water that slows the rig down to just 1.5 knots.
We are approaching the final location. At the moment, the two stern legs on the rig are 10 meters clear of the seabed.
From the rig's jacking control center on the bridge, Marine Section Leader Peter Rossen helps towmaster Anders Bone Hansen position this behemoth over exactly the right spot for drilling.
That's 106 on all 3 legs.
Okay, stop.
All stop.
To prevent the rig from overshooting the target, Anders and his team slow the rig down even more by dragging its legs across the sea floor. With the legs touching the bottom, the tugs will haul the rig with the aim of getting the forward leg to within 10 meters of the predetermined target. To keep the rig steady and avoid putting all the stress of the moving rig on just one leg, it's critical that Anders touch all 3 legs on the bottom at exactly the same time.
Commander, come up 5% to 30%. Thank you, Commander. We don't want to go too fast because we don't want to overshoot the target. That's as simple as that.
The 2 tugs, Challenger and Commander, work in tandem to precisely position the giant.
Thank you, Commander. Up 5% to 30%. 5%
to 30, confirm Challenger.
We're going to skid into the final position and then jack control down.
As the rig's legs scrape along the sea floor, disturbing vibrations boom up the legs to the bridge.
Yeah, that's what you hear and feel every so often now. We're twisting on the bottom. That's the legs working themselves inside the leg well, so against the hull of the rig.
Raise starboard and port by 0.2 of a meter. 260 and you're lined up. Thank you.
With the interceptor's forward leg in place, the next step is to use it as a pivot point to rotate the whole rig into position. This maneuver places significant stress on the forward leg.
106 on the forward leg.
Okay, stop jacking. Raise starboard and port legs.
Raise starboard and port legs. The starboard and port legs, jacking control. We're going to raise your legs now.
Gradually, the tugs start to pivot the rig around.
So, if I raise the port and starboard leg too much, we will lose the grip in or the contact with the seabed, and then we'll swing much too fast, and then we can start all over again. We don't want that.
After more than 3 hours,
Commander, come 10 degrees to starboard to 240.
We pinned, so we stuck down the forward leg. So that's holding the forward part of the rig in place. Now we're just slowly turning the rear stern part of it.
Commander, come up 5% to 30%. Please stop.
the interceptor's 3 legs settle into their final position.
I'm going to do some quick jacking of the legs to pin us in final position.
Hvad er det ikke den til forben?
106 kommer frem.
Sono 4 rotaie.
Just as the rig is at its most vulnerable, the weather turns ugly. To avoid damage, the interceptor has to jack up above the waves. The rush is on to